So this is one of the most requested items I get asked to install in a new bathroom. And I tell you what, it's a luxury item, but it's actually really easy to install. This freestanding faucet, it's not as complicated as you think. So I want to show you how to install a freestanding tub in your bathroom. Okay, so we're going to be installing a freestanding tub. And so one of the first things you have to do is get your rough-in valves and your plumbing set up for your soaking tub. So this is a rough-in valve for a Moen valve, a freestanding tub filler. And basically it's just a rough-in valve that you have to anchor this bottom plate into it. This is the shield it comes with. You stick this on here, and there's some indicators on this that will give you the depth of the finished floor. So it's basically just like your regular shower valve. It's like a plaster guard that gives you a variance between where the finished floor has to be. And this is actually a pretty wide spread, so it's kind of difficult to screw up. Okay, so then when you're installing this, you can turn it to any different direction that you need it to install your plumbing. So you have to pay attention to which side is hot and left. It's not actually indicated on here. It depends on which way this is configured. So our tub is going to be in the front here. So when you're looking at the faucet, the left side's hot, the right side's cold. So this will be our configuration. So you have to imagine turning this around so the tub is in the front. So hot on the left, cold on the right. This is going to be our configuration here. Okay, so we got some female adapters that we're just going to install on our rough-in valve. So you want to make sure you put about 4 to 5 revolutions of Teflon tape around these fittings here. And I should mention here that I built up a little platform underneath of that rough-in valve. You want to screw that rough-in body valve to something secure. So in this instance, I used some 3/4 inch OSB and some 2x6s to build it up to the height that I needed it. I'm going to add a little bit of paste. And then simply hand thread the adapters onto your rough-in valve and use channel locks to further tighten down. Now, using tubing cutters is a great way to cut PEX nice and square, makes a better connection point, and then using the rigid crimper is also more effective. Also, make sure you use a no-go go gauge to make sure your crimp rings are done properly. And then moving on to the drain, since I'm using ABS piping, you want to make sure you're using ABS cement. Just be sure that you're using a fully glued in P-trap, and then be sure that you measure it to make sure it's still centered. Now you want to use a 5-inch hole saw for around this drain. Just be sure that you use glue before setting that subfloor in place. And I like to use a framing nailer with 8-penny nails, and you want to make sure your nailing pattern is about 8 inches on center. Now this entire bathroom had a heated flooring system that I installed using Schluter's All Set with a 1/4 inch by 1/4 inch square notch trowel. Below in the description, I have a further series of videos about the installation of this wiring system. But the biggest thing that I want to make sure that every video addresses, that you want to make sure that the thin set is mixed to the wettest ratio for this mat. I like using a grout flow to embed that into place, but the thin set being wet is what's going to make it bond well to the subfloor. So be sure to pay attention to the water ratios on the back of the bag. And then one great tip I want to give you is using spray foam to go around these drain pipes, because after I install the wires, I want to floor level the whole area, and the spray foam will bond to the mat and prevent that floor leveler from getting into those holes. And you can just go ahead and start placing the wires into the mat. Again, links are in the description for a further detailed explanation of this. But one of my favorite floor levelers is Ardex liquid backer board. It's a nice smooth consistency. You just have to agitate it a little bit to get it to floor level. But as you can see, the floor leveler is going up to my shower pan and creating a curbless entrance into my shower. And then after floor leveling, you want to use a waterproofing system over the entire area. Installing a freestanding tub rough-in drain is going to simplify the entire process of installing a soaking tub. So the first thing you want to do is just make sure that the riser pipe is centered within your hole location. And then if you need to reduce down to 1.5 inches like we do here, just be sure to use the correct primer and PVC cement for that drain. Now in this situation, we were using 1.5 inch ABS cement, so we needed to use the transition cement from PVC to ABS. Just use a liberal amount and use a twisting motion to make sure that that's well glued. And then for the ABS fittings, you want to use the ABS cement and then just secure this rough-in drain down to the subfloor with some 2-inch galvanized screws. And as you can see, when I'm using the brass tailpiece, it just slides into a rubber gasket. So that's what's going to simplify this. Now, moving on to waterproofing, I like to use Schluter's Curdy Fix to adhere membrane on top of that flange. So make sure that you use the Schluter's All Set Thin Set to embed the membrane, and then you just simply seal that onto that drain. So this membrane is going to make this 100% waterproof over this drain. Just cut out that area for your drain, and that's pretty much about it. And I recommend using the little blue cap to keep the thin set out. And the next step is to install the tile throughout the entire bathroom in grout before getting into the freestanding tub filler. Okay, so as you can see, we have our 2 ports here that we need to slide the end of this in here. So we'll take this cover off of here, and these are going to slide with the rubber gaskets into these holes. And the rest of this is a very straightforward process. Just use the screws that's provided with the Allen key, and you can just place that into place, and you could twist to make sure that that faucet stays to the position that you want to. The lines inside of there allow it to twist and move. Just hand tighten the bolts in before tightening them with the Allen key. Okay, so the first thing is that you just want to get this set in place of where you're going to be locating it and make sure there's no wobble in it. On the back end of this, basically you just have some stops that you can adjust the feet. There's feet. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different feet at the bottom of the tub. So you can just easily adjust these just like an appliance. You just thread them out or thread them in depending on whether your floor is on level or not. So it just takes a little bit of time just to make sure nothing rocks, but that's all you're looking for, is to keep this thing from rocking. Okay, so this just has a male threaded 1.5 inch piece. This tail piece came with the drain assembly. That was for my internal drain. As you can see, I just have a rubber gasket that this basically just slides right into. So it's nothing very complicated here. What I want to do is you want to make sure you have your slip ring for your drain assembly. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add a little bit of silicone, just because this is something I'm not going to be able to actually see if it's leaking or not. So this is just going to give me a little bit of extra insurance. Yeah. So I'm just going to put this on top of my trap here. Okay. And I'm just going to put a little bit of silicone here. And again, this is just for insurance reasons. I'm not going to be able to see whether this leaks or not in any fashion, so I just want to be extra cautious on that. And so then I'm just going to thread this on, and you just have to go hand tight. Let me grab a... Okay, so that's all there is to it. And just slide right in. And it'll just slide right in. Okay, so double check for levelness. I'm good there. Go on the side. Nothing moves. So that's really as simple as that. You just simply set it into that. It goes into that rubber gasket, and that's all there is to it. So now It really makes a simple installation. Now we can just go ahead and turn on the water, test it, make sure it works, fill it up. But what's nice about this tub is that the drain assembly and everything else is already installed on it. So all you have to do is actually put that tail piece on and stick it in the pipe. So I hope that helped you out with your own project, and my goal is to simplify bathroom remodeling. So please like this video and subscribe for more information like this. Thank you.